Hey Watch fam, welcome back to the channel. It's Nick here, and today we're diving into a hot debate in the world of horology. Are quartz watches making a comeback? Now, to answer that, we've got to rewind the clock a little bit. A time to when quartz turned the entire watch industry upside down. So, buckle up and listen in. This is not just about a battery-powered movement. It's about a revolution in watchmaking and something that almost disrupted the entire industry as a whole. So we got in earlier this week this 36 millimeter beautiful two-tone quartz watch, and it is of course AP, and it got me thinking, are quartz coming back? Is it, so often you have guys that come into my office and they say, I only want manual, I only want automatic, I only want whatever, and so it really made me wonder, what happened to quartz? Is it something that not a lot of people these days like? Is it something that is really making a comeback? Is it maybe just the average buyer doesn't know about things like the Quartz Crisis, which is something we're going to be talking about in a second here. And yeah, it really just made me think about wanting to create this video for you guys. Anyway, a little bit of history for you. In the 1970s, the Quartz Crisis nearly killed the watch industry. Up until then, mechanical watches dominated the space, and they were works of art. Their gear, their springs, their balance wheels, but they weren't always accurate. That's when Japan stepped in. Now, a wonderful brand that I love and I still wear today, Seiko, came out with something really interesting called the Seiko Astron in 1969. And this piece was launched in 1969 as the world's first commercial quartz watch. It didn't just tell time, it kept time perfect. With fewer moving parts and mass production, watches were cheaper, which meant that a lot of people that maybe before this couldn't enjoy this hobby of luxury watch collecting now could. And that was really awesome to kind of figure out that, hey, if there are less pieces in this piece that are moving, we can have a more accurate watch. And I think that point alone in and of itself is why when that happened in the industry, it was a great thing. Now, here's the thing. By the early 1980s, everyone had a quartz watch. Casio, Timex, even Rolex dipped into quartz for a while with the Oyster Quartz. It was modern, affordable, and accessible. But it wasn't long before a lot of collectors called them soulless, because they didn't have all these crazy movements. It wasn't something that somebody handmade. They were made in a factory, they were mass-produced, and they were more affordable, but it wasn't as artistic. And they just lacked craftsmanship that made mechanical watches feel alive. Still, quartz had its moment. Brands like Swatch used quartz to go bold and to go plastic. If you look at the Omega collaboration they did some years ago, that's a quartz watch, beautiful piece. And I think that quartz does have a place in the average person's collection. Quartz watches were made to be fashion forward and interesting. But as quickly as quartz rose, so did the desire for traditional watch lovers who wanted to take back that superiority and felt that the balance just wasn't there. So in the 90s and 2000s, mechanical watches made a massive comeback. Brands leaned hard into luxury, heritage, and craftsmanship in a way that they hadn't before. And mechanical became cool again. Quartz, it kind of died down in a way. They were left in a drawer. Worse, they were labeled cheap. Now I feel like we're somewhere in the middle. Fast forward to now. Quartz is getting some respect again, especially high-end quartz. If you look at something like a Grand Seiko 9F, it's not your drugstore battery watch. It's hand-assembled. It's thermocompensated and has a great accuracy and craftsmanship. And I think that's where quartz should be. Not the pinnacle of luxury watchmaking, but cheap by no means. Great quartz examples are the FB Journe Élégante, the Cartier Tank Must Solar Beat, and then, of course, the Grand Seiko 9F. Now, do I think that FP Journe, that made a $30,000 solar paneled quartz watch that stops when you're not wearing it, do I think that's cool? Absolutely. Do I think that a quartz watch should be $30,000? I'm not sure. The cool thing about watch collecting is it really is in the eyes of the beholder. Now, with that being said, I do think quartz are coming back, especially with the move to sustainability that we've had in recent years. Quartz is trending. Solar quartz means fewer batteries. It also means convenience. No winding, no setting. It also, because it doesn't have a large amount of mechanisms and movements, means that I can have a slimmer watch. And I think the age of large, gigantic pieces on your wrist is in fact coming to an end. I also think nostalgia plays a big role in this. The 80s and 90s aesthetic is in. And the people who can afford the expensive watches now are those that were kids in the 80s and 90s. Maybe they had a calculator watch. Maybe they had a Seiko Solar. And so those people that are bringing new money into the market are now controlling the desires of the market. Of course, it's affordable. You can rock a legendary quartz watch without spending 5 figures. Again, it's not just new collectors. Hardcore enthusiasts are realizing that quartz can be just as special when done right. The idea that quartz isn't cheap is outdated. I'm sorry. The idea that quartz, rather, is just cheap is really outdated. And I think that it tells a story that mechanical watches just don't. It's about design and it's about function. So I would ask you this. Would you buy a quartz watch? If the answer is yes, then you would agree with me that quartz watches are coming back in style. I'd actually like to say that they never left. They just took a different place in the watch collector's watch roll for a little while. Whether you're team mechanical or team quartz, one thing is clear. Timekeeping has room for both of these innovations. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more detailed looks into other movements and watches. Drop a comment below about your opinions on quartz watches, and if you've owned any, I'd love to see some pictures. See you next time.